And how are you feeling about the gap now? 4 points. Could have been 9, couldn't it? We both played
Feel much better.
We both
much
played for
better.
Everton, and that result in midweek was incredible, and it's ended up a decent week, hasn't it?
It is. Let's see what happens now. But we have to do what we can, and is in our control. And you go into any ground, and it's just a nightmare. It's a battle. It's very difficult. You have to be at your best to win, and it's going to be a long run.
And Mikel, obviously there was so much talk about the injury to Kai this week, how you would deal with that challenge. You've responded today with the win. What kind of message does that send your title rivals ahead of their game? Because it's some early pressure you've put on them this weekend.
Yeah, that we really want it, that regardless what happens or difficulties that we're going to face, that we're going to give it a real go, that the team really wants it. We've been 7-8 months already working on that, and we're not going to stop, and let's see how far we can go.
And Merino, when he spoke to Becky at the end of the game, he basically said he didn't think he would continue playing there, but you see him as a solution forward until you get players back?
Let's enjoy this one, analyse it, and let's move into the next one.
15 Premier League games unbeaten now. It was a hard battle out there today, but how big a win is that in the context of the season?
Yeah, big win. Obviously, we haven't played a game for 10 days now after the break, and today is a day, with all the questions that they've been raised, obviously, with the injuries, to make a statement that we are here, that we really want it. I think there were two very different halves. The first one, we lacked some urgency and we're very inconsistent, especially on simple things with the ball and without the ball. But the second half, we picked it up and we managed to win the game.
And you talked before the game, you were joking with Martin about being creative, maybe centre-backs, but you brought on Mikel Merino. What did you say to him when he came on?
That he was going to score. I mean, he's a real growth threat. The moment that they were defending a little bit deeper and we were more established and more set in the final third, we thought that he could deliver those moments, but then easier to say that to get it done, and he was brilliant.
Do you see real similarities in his characteristics to Kai Havertz?
Because of the height? No, I think they are very different. Miguel's never played as a 9, but he's got that timing, that smell, that he can smell danger, he can anticipate the situation, and then he can execute, obviously.
Did you work on it in the week with him playing in that role? Because he seemed to, in the interview afterwards, he was saying, well, it was almost told this morning that, no, you're going to come on, that's where you're going to play.
Yeah, because I didn't want it was a lot of debate. I didn't want to drive them crazy. So I said to him this morning that he might play there if the game was, we believe that he could sit him in that moment, depending on the game context, and he did, and he won the game for us.
Can I ask you about the young players, Miles Skelly and Nwaneri? Miles Skelly, a crucial defence at the far post, but today, what a beautiful footballer.
Unbelievable. Yeah, the two they were involved in two of the biggest moments of the game. One when he just touches that ball, that is, if not is a goal on the counter, the giveaway that we have in the middle, and then Ethan, that every time, first half even, every time he was on the ball, he looked a threat. I think he put one on the crossbar, one on the post, and he put a beautiful cross for the goal as well.
Is it almost like you feel a big responsibility to have a young player like that to protect him as well? Because we were hearing the Arsenal fans and he really excites them, but he can't play every minute. He's still a young player, but he's so important to you, isn't he?
Yes, and at the moment as well, with the injuries that we have. But I think when you see their behaviour and naturally how they're behaving on the pitch, let them go as well. Something is to protect them, but as well take the handbrake off. And if they are ready to go to that pace, why we should stop him? Because they are 17. And I think they both have an unbelievable environment at home and with the people at the club. And slowly but firmly.
Listen to Mikel's press conferences. He's talking about character, showing character, and I think that's what they showed today. They had to stay in the game. Of course, you wanted Leicester to be a little bit more proactive at home, trying to go for Arsenal, but we know our defence is strong, but we needed that off the bench. We needed that because I didn't see it coming off the pitch with the starters, apart from Ethan Nwaneri. So we did need that extra push of Merino coming on and scoring.
I mean, that is a huge moment, isn't it, if you think about it, and for what that means. For Liverpool, yes, they've got that 4-point advantage, but they just know. Arsenal have continued now, their unbeaten run to 15 games?
Arsenal are in great form. They're keeping Liverpool honest. Absolutely. You would look at that game today and worry a little bit, thinking they didn't create too much, playing against tougher opposition maybe. Are they going to be able to do that? But what they have got to do is find somebody from somewhere to take the burden of scoring a few goals. And Merino's gone and done it today. It might be somebody else next week. But it's not the normal names. We're going to have to get used to some different names to be heroes, and that started today. But great impact off the bench. Those late runs into the box is really important. And as I say, keeps Liverpool honest now.
You okay there, Ian?
Yes.
Well, before we have a look at Merino's magical moments, 7.5 minutes before he scored the first of his 2 goals. Yeah. Miles line clearance.
Unbelievable.
In hindsight now, was a seminal moment.
Massive. Thomas Partey, I don't know, his pass was really so flippant there. But you see, he kind of gets his foot stuck and then he gets another little touch. But it's the luck. It's the luck you need at this stage. Look, you get his foot stuck and then he digs it out, bam, he's getting ready to tap that in. So that is major in us winning this game. Major.
Yeah. That's one of a couple of youngsters that was...
Ultimately, you can win cup competitions and you can be your day and your name's written in the star, but to win the title, you have to be at it in places like this where you come and you haven't got a striker, the cameras are there, all the questions are asking, everyone's criticising the board, the director of football for not bringing a striker. All that's irrelevant to Mikel Arteta and his team. They need to come there and find a way to win, and they did that, and that's a credit to them because of there has been question marks of Arsenal collectively as a club for the last 15 years on that one thing. Can they win on games like this? And they did it today, so fair play to him.
Yeah, exactly. But he's building, isn't he? And at half-time, we didn't get a chance to talk to him there, didn't want to go backwards. But that must have been a difficult team talk at half-time because he needed to find the words to motivate his team because it wasn't quite happening. They weren't there. There wasn't the right weight on the passes. There wasn't the right movement. They'd run offside 4 or 5 times, and it wasn't really working. And then all of a sudden, he finds the words, and it was better in the second half. They started getting Nwaneri into that central area. Ødegaard starts pulling the strings, and then he makes an inspired decision. So he's playing it. You're living it and breathing it, and they're finding a way at the moment just to keep this pressure on to Liverpool, and it starts to change. It does because psychologically, been in these races many times with Manchester United. It's been very, very nice at the moment. Both teams really not affecting each other. Suddenly, this result now affects Liverpool. It comes into their space now, just 4 points, and that could have been a whole lot bigger at the beginning of the week.
Do you know what? Sorry, Linz. You come in at half time, you put yourself in Mikel Arteta's shoes, and he'll be thinking to himself, right, do I change it now? There'll be coaches up and down the country going, we could be something clever, bring a fullback on here, maybe put another player here. And I think it was just one of them days, Martin, where you had a few players. Raheem Sterling looks like he's low on confidence. A couple of the midfield, Thomas Partey kept giving the ball away in the first half. And I just thought, I think it was one of them where you go in there and you try and get some emotional response from them, to remind them how good they are. But this is it.
Football can change quickly. Oof. But that 6 minutes between Merino's first and second goal, that period of time, feels like that might have just changed everything.
I mean, all jokes aside, like with one roll of the dice, that completely changed. It was a game where Sterling didn't really work. Well, it didn't work out. Now you're wondering, we looked at the bench, there's nothing on the bench. We all kind of heard whispers from different corners that Merino could play as a striker. So we're thinking, maybe he'll start the day that way. He didn't. So then what do you have to lose? You put him on. And now with those 2 goals, all of a sudden, he's the difference. He starts next week. He starts the week after, as long as he continues to produce that. So, I mean, a big sigh of relief, I think, for Arsenal.
Rob?
Changes the season, Bax. Absolutely changes the season. From, and I'll be honest, a midfield player who's done OK to a striker who saved him 60, 70, $80 million, has got the profile of Kai Havertz in his build and the way he plays, good in the air, technically strong. So it's a better fit for the team, especially what we saw from Raheem Sterling. Outstanding. Want to just mention 2 young men, though. Lewis Skelly makes a block at the far post at 0-0 that changes the game. Ethan Nwaneri is an absolute talent who was outstanding today. He was the one X factor. His ball as the assist for the first goal was outstanding. 2 young men who've played their part while Merino will get the headlines.
And a situation that, if we're going to look on the bright side, if we're going to look at silver linings to injury crises, it's that young players can come in and those that can swim rather than sink can get a place and stay in, Tim.
Well, it always impressed me. One, a manager's ability to pick a young player. So you have to show enough confidence. But I've been there. I've been a young player once upon a time. You've been a young player once upon a time. It is I mean, it's not easy. And to see these young kids, because they're kids, they're just boys or teenagers, to see them come in and to play with such arrogance and freedom, it's special to watch. I mean, the one thing about Merino coming in and doing well is Nwaneri shouldn't be asked to carry this load for the Arsenal front three, but he can be a key cog in it. And if you have someone up at the top of the pitch like Merino who's willing to take that responsibility, Nwaneri will shine.
And Robbie, it's not too big, is it, to say that 10 minutes is the difference between Premier League season over and Premier League season very much still on?
Absolutely different narrative, Rebecca. And there'll be a belief now in the Arsenal ranks after the disappointment of losing Kai Havertz that we've got Kai Havertz mark too.
Line harsh on Leicester?
Maybe. I thought maybe a 1-0 was probably fair. Arsenal definitely shaded it, but he's right. I mean, a little bit of luck. Wright, he showed the possible chance or the bit of fortune on the back post for Arsenal. Overall, though, I thought Arsenal were the team that were wanting it more, that were trying to press for the victory. So I think on balance, Arsenal just as if they weren't really impressive, Arsenal. And Leicester did defend well. They defended set pieces well as well. Arsenal were a real threat. They defended that really well. But on the whole, I think Arsenal deserved a small win.
And if Leicester were outsiders today, they host Brentford on Friday.
Tough.
That's also a tough one, isn't it?
It is a tough one, especially when you look at the Brentford forwards and what they're capable of doing and how resolute they are at the back. It's another game where they're going to probably have to dig in again and try and get those chances. You can't forget that Ndidi chance at the start there, and it was very fortunate in the way that Miles Lewis-Skelly kind of like made that clearance. So a little bit of luck either way. Obviously, Ndidi's got to do better with the header, but a little bit of luck either way. And Leicester might be, you know what I mean, last couple of games that they've had, like obviously the Man United in the Cup was so unlucky for them, offside goal. And then they just got a bit of, they were just a bit unlucky with the way that Miles Lewis-Skelly cleared that, and then Arsenal brought Merino off the bench to finish it.
Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta says other players will have to step up like super sub Mikel Merino after the makeshift striker secured the Premier League title hopefuls a vital victory at lacklustre Leicester. The Gunners arrived at the King Power Stadium reeling from Kai Havertz's season-ending hamstring injury, meaning the top scorer joined Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli on the sidelines. Arsenal's makeshift front three failed to click at Leicester despite 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri impressing on the right, but Arteta's decision to replace ineffective Raheem Sterling with Merino proved inspired. The Spain midfielder admitted he had never played up front before but looked every bit the frontman as he headed the visitors ahead before striking home another to seal a 2-0 win. Very tough match, Arteta said after a game that saw Miles Lewis-Skelly make a goal-saving interception shortly before the opener. The first half, especially the first 20 to 25 minutes, we struggled to get certain momentum because we did a lot of simple things very wrong, but the second half was very different. We had much more urgency, better intentions, better executions, and then you can sense that the game was going in the direction that it had to go. Saying that, there's a moment when we give the ball away in the middle of the park. The space is open in the counter and Miles has to make a magic touch to deny the goal. In the other end, then that's when we score the goal, and Mikel obviously made a huge impact to score the 2 goals. Asked if it was too simple to say that Merino is Arsenal's goal-scoring solution, he said yeah, we're going to have to share that, and we know that we're going to have a various contexts. We're going to have to make a sub because a player is not performing or the opposition is doing something else or we've got a yellow card or it's fatigue, and that's going to restrict what we can do in terms of the personnel. But we have prepared for different scenarios. Then those scenarios have to work. Hopefully they will work as good as Mikel worked today. Merino admitted after the game it was the first time in his career he had played in that position. And he said the goals were a present for his wife for Valentine's Day because, he believes, she would appreciate this more than a rose or some chocolate. Merino told TNT Sports this morning, we were talking about it a little bit playing as a striker with one of the assistants and, honestly, it is a surprise because it is the first time in my career that I play that position, but yeah, he told me to go striker, to make sure I go with my strengths. I think I solved it and luckily I could help the team with 2 goals today. Arsenal's win saw them reduce the gap to leaders Liverpool, who drew 2-2 at Everton in midweek to 4 points. Obviously his age is always something that puts a question mark on how we have to deal with him, Arteta said of the teenager. But every sign that has given us is let me go for it, let me go. When a player is giving you all those signs, you should not stop it. You have to play with that freedom, with that creativity, with that confidence that he's playing at the minute. The players around him believe in him, so let him go because he's a massive threat, massive talent, and he deserves to play. Leicester's loss was their 9th defeat in 10 Premier League matches and came amid protests against the club's leadership. Boss Ruud van Nistelrooy said, "I've said this many times before, we've had good performances and again won today, to the maximum of our capabilities. We have to keep going like this, then results will come and luck will